and I'm a text. Hey, we live. I don't know if people are watching yet, so let me post to my social media. Right quick. Thank you, everyone, for being able to come, even on the other side of the world. I was like, I need another Sister Greek because somebody show up. I can't be the only woman in here.
But the whole time I was like, I only know one.
Right.
I was like, I only
That's
know
me.
one.
I mean, Black people are few in the industry, and then Black people in Greek letter organizations
Right.
is asking a bit much.
Dude, it's almost like it's very weird to be within the arts and Greek at the same time, but to be an animator is like.
Oh yeah.
There are not a lot of animators out there. Period. You know, it's not. It's a small field to begin with. So we're a small piece of a small piece.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
True. Very true.
Exactly.
Like minus one person, this is everyone that I found. Like, I didn't find anyone else.
Hey, look, let's just put it to you like this: I just have high faith to know that I'm probably like the only animator in my organization. Like I just honestly feel that in my soul. I'm just like 2D animator.
Right.
Probably the only one.
Well, this is exciting. That's just to meet you guys. Like, I'm excited to know more about everybody because there's only so many of us, you know.
Absolutely. Like like, no matter what, I hope we all exchange information and just like keep abreast of each other because you know who knows when we'll have an opportunity just to work together on some side projects, whatever. Just this is such a rare opportunity. I really thank you guys for being here.
Absolutely.
I say, that's gonna happen regardless. We got the email. Like I'm about to start asking all the socials.
Absolutely on that one.
I got a couple projects coming up, and we're always looking for good people. So,
word up.
Oh, let's go! I love it. Let's form Voltron on them.
I know.
All right, let's get started with introductions. So you're gonna say your name, your org, school, and chapter, season and year, and then your role in the animation industry. So, Steve-O, you can start while I'm posting to social media.
All right, I'm Stephen Ohio at GBA. I'm from Phi Beta Sigma, the infamous Iota Phi chapter at RIT.
Season and year, and then your role in the animation industry.
Oh, my role is I'm a game designer actually, so I make you feel good about being violent in video games, and I work at Sony Santa Monica.
Oh wow! So you can't talk about that God of War sequel right now, man.
I can't talk about anything. They don't even know I'm here, but
See, now I got to get you. Now I definitely got to get your contact because I need you to supply me some info. I didn't even play the game. I just like the story. I just love the story and everything. And I'm just like, I need to know what's gonna happen.
We can talk offline. Yeah, industry.
I'm getting some info.
Who's next? Just feel free to go next.
I'll go. Marquis Staten. I'm 2012 initiate of the Mighty Mu Epsilon chapter of Omega Psi Phi. And it will be that's Winston-Salem State University. My role as far as animation, I was a graphic designer / animator for a biking company for like about 2 years. Got let go like in July of 2020, and I've been freelancing pretty much ever since. I've worked on music videos for record companies, as well as like the most recent project I've done is worked on a animated segment for Hulu for a YouTube series called Your Attention Please, where they focus on African American creatives or just African American prominent people. And the person that we worked on was a stunt woman by the name of Jazzy Ellis. And so you can, if you want to watch that, you can find that on YouTube. It's like it's like season 2, episode 1, the first segment. That's the episode I worked on.
All right, Matt.
Hey. My name is Matt Munn. Happy to be here. I am an animator, CG animator. Been animating for almost 17 years now, so it's been a minute, and I've been all over the place. I've worked uh, at Sony ImageWorks, DreamWorks for a little bit, and then Blue Sky. May she rest in peace. That's where I was currently. I'm sure many of you know that Blue Sky just announced that they're shutting their doors next month. So I am in a transition phase, which is actually more exciting than it is sad. I have some aspirations to get into a little more concept development, writing, and directing and stuff. So the most recent project I worked on, I had an opportunity to do some co-directing for a short film that will be coming out on Disney Plus at some point, God willing. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see where I end up over the next year or so. But I'm excited about potentially trying some new stuff. So still within the animation, but more of like creating the content on that side of things. So yeah, happy to be here. Oh, and I represent Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, Spring '99, Zion Macron Chapter, University of Delaware. I see you, Gobina.
Of course, it's two of them.
Yes, sir. That's it for me.
Too much.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so
I know there's another brother in the industry. I love it.
I love it too. I love it too. We'll all, yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kwabena Yanka. I am a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I was initiated at Beta Chapter, which is at Howard University. I was saying before we started, I actually had the pleasure of attending Howard at the same time as Chadwick Boseman, who went on to be the Black Panther. We were both in the School of Fine Arts at the same time, unfortunately in different departments.
Yes, sir.
I was in theater, I was in design, so I never had a chance to really meet or interact with him. Just like you, I'm a spring 1999 initiate of Beta Chapter, so we're actually sans on this one.
Oh, let's go.
That's right. We're definitely hooking up here. We're definitely hooking up here. I currently work for an educational technology firm. I do all their marketing. Yeah. I do their motion graphics animation and all their marketing for them. So I do animated ads for different colleges and universities that we represent, that we partner with. But in my background, I've worked in, music videos, shorts. When I used to live in LA, I did my master's at UCLA when I left Howard, and started my career working for Michael Schultz, the legendary director of movies like Crush Groove, The Last Dragon, Cooley High, Car Wash, great man, great mentor. And so that kind of started my career. I've worked in video games, I've worked in broadcast for sports and television, and now politics, and now I'm doing corporate work on the marketing side.
Sister Greek.
Hi, I'm Ashley. So I'm a member of the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta sorority, and I crossed at Arizona State University with the Iota Kappa chapter in fall of 2013. I'm one of the only fall lines in my org for IK. It's Lost Spring Babies. I'm an animator, a 3D animator specifically. I like quadruped and character animation specifically. I've done some freelance stuff, like tiny little shorts that like some people that I know have been doing. Right now, I'm teaching animation in Dubai, but I'm hoping to make a change. So I've been putting my stuff out more. I've been working on my reel a little bit more, spending a little bit more time on stuff that I enjoy to make that change.
Nice. And I am Deborah Anderson, the Black Woman animator. I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Chi Lambda, thank you, Chi Lambda, notorious Chi Lambda chapter at Rochester Institute of Technology. That's how Steve-O and me know each other. Spring 06, and my role in the animation industry, my specialty is 3D modeling, but currently I teach at a media arts high school in Crenshaw. I teach Blender to 9th and 10th graders. So now that we have the introductions out of the way, let's start with the first question. What drew you to the animation industry, and how was your interest sparked? Let's start with Ashley.
So the thing that drew me to this was I've always liked cartoons ever since I was a little kid, specifically like classic Disney. Even though I'm not a 2D animator, I don't have like the patience for that at all. But I like 2D effects. So, you know, that's as close as I got to like the original thing that gave me inspiration. But yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I my parents, not really my parents, but my dad was kind of pushing me in like a bunch of different directions because he didn't think that this was like a viable career option. He was like, you need something to fall back on. Like, how many people are realistically making movies? Like, people stay there for years, yada, yada, yada. It wasn't until I actually got this job that he was like, oh, you can make money doing this. But yeah, so I mean, I grew up on Disney, early Pixar, stuff like that. So those are like my favorite movies, and that's what really made me want to like do that because I wanted to be a part of like crafting someone's childhood, like other people were a part of crafting my childhood, and hopefully, you know, make movies that because I still go back to like The Lion King and Ariel and you know Little Mermaid and stuff like that. So I want to be part of that for somebody else.
Corbina, what drew you to the animation industry? How was your interest sparked?
And so it's pronounced Quabina. You can just call me
Corbina.
Quab for sure. Yeah, you call me Quab for short.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I have to tell you, I think you're probably going to hear this answer a lot out of this bunch here, but you know, I came to this country from Ghana at age 6, and I can tell you that just watching cartoons just mesmerized me as a child. You know, everything from Bugs Bunny. I grew up in a small town called East Lansing, Michigan, and through a quirk of
Michigan.
okay, through a quirk of FCC broadcast laws, it turns out that college radio and TV stations don't have to censor themselves the way like regular radio and TV. So there was this guy that used to do something called the Cartoon Control Room, and every Friday night, from Friday night till Sunday night, he'd be on air 24 hours playing these crazy cartoons from Japan, these old school Warner Brothers cartoons. He would play all the racist stuff that like had been hidden. Like, and he could play it all straight, like copyrighted stuff. He could play it straight with no animation. And you know, most Ghanaians, you know, most African immigrants have very strict parents, and the only time we could stay up late as children was on the weekends, right? And so I would just be up all night watching this guy play the most obscure, like Bugs Bunny cartoons from World War II, from you know, just all kinds of it just never. I was captivated by it. And then on top of that, I mean, that was the first time I watched Fist of the North Star. You know, I think I must have been like 11 or 12 or something like that. And this guy was playing it raw, uncut, and I was like, wow, mind blowing, right? And coupled with that, I always had an interest in drawing. I think I demonstrated a skill for drawing very early in life. Those two things together, it just got me and never let go. And here we are now.
All right, Matt.
Oh man, I love it. So I got a quick side story about the name Kwabena real quick. Because I visited Ghana once, and I was it was my first trip to the motherland, and I was so in love with the whole experience. I had the honor of having dinner with the Queen Mother in Kumasi, and she was like, "How are you enjoying your time, Matt?" And I was like, "This is the best. I feel like I'm connecting to my roots." I was like, "I need a Ghanaian name." Like, she was like, "When were you born?" I was like, "Tuesday." She was like, your name, your Ghanaian name is Kwabena, right?" And I was like, "Hooray, this is amazing." And I was like so excited. I went home. I got back to where I was staying, called my mother on like a FaceTime. Was like, "Mom, I'm having the greatest time ever. My name is Kwabena. Like, this is what I'm like going. They're calling me that here because I was born on Tuesday." She's like, "Boy, you were born on Monday. What you talking about?" I was like, "Oh God." So I'm like a fraudulent Kwabena. So
what it's worth, I was born in Kumasi too, so
story. So I had to go back to.
Oh, hey, wow. For what it's worth, I was born in Kumasi too, so that's another thing we have in common.
All right, I love it, man. We got a lot in common, bro. We'll connect after this for sure. Yeah, I'm also in the car, so forgive me. There's a little bit of a delay, but I'll just say I got into animation. Interestingly, I've always been a creative type of individual. Like as a kid, I was always drawing and making little stop motion videos with claymation and whatnot. But I didn't really pursue art or animation seriously until after college. Like my the end of my undergraduate experience, I started messing around with Maya and kind of was blown away and fell in love and was like, what am I doing? I went to school undergrad for computer science, so I was programming. And it was, once I discovered Maya, I was like, I don't want to do programming anymore. I want to do this. And so I scrambled and put together a very rough portfolio and applied to all the grad schools that all the art schools that had any kind of computer art program. That offered a graduate level computer art program, and I got rejected by all but one and ended up going to SCAD in Savannah,
Hey.
which was great. Hey, SCAD bees. You guys are on such a delay for me that I'll say something. I'm already halfway into my next thing, and everybody's like, "Oh, I'll react." And I'm coming back. So this is hilarious. So my apologies. The phone, internet, whatever. But so I went to SCAD, got into animation there. I didn't even think I thought I was going to, go into modeling and character design type stuff, but took an animation class, fell in love, realized this is all I wanted to do, and just leaned into that. And then eventually got an internship, which led to my first job in 2005 at Sony ImageWorks, working on Open Season 1. And it's been, living the dream since then. So that's how I got into it.
All right, Marquise.
Yeah.
Pretty much kind of like the same story. Grew up a Disney kid, and pretty much at that time, just it didn't dawn on me like these are people actually drawing and making and creating this. You don't think of that as a child. And then when I got a little older, I was always drawing, tracing the VHS cassettes, and then I started drawing like what I saw, and then it just kept growing and growing. And luckily, I was blessed with a family that saw that I was, artistic and wanted and just said, if you want, you can pursue it and everything. Just, obviously, like what Ashley said, have a bit of a backup plan. But all in all, they did support me in my decision and such. And I majored in computer graphics and animation at Winston-Salem State. And then, but at that time, it just wasn't, the program wasn't strong enough, or wasn't like, it didn't have a lot going on to where I got a lot out of it. So when I graduated, I just knew, I was like, I'm not going to end up in the field with just what I have. And a friend of mine, she was a Delta, she was like, you should try SCAD or whatever. And I was like, what is that? And I saw it and I was like, oh, so you got money or something, because you see how much this mess costs. But I applied and somehow got in, and I was actually very shocked. So I got there, got my MFA in animation, and I realized while I was there that the grad program only supports like the 3D animation curriculum. And if you want to learn 2D, you kind of have to go under the table a little bit. So it's like I want to learn 2D. So I'm kind of a hybrid. So it's like I'm there because my courses are taking 3D, but I want to learn 2D. So I got some underground courses, and I kind of had to teach myself, kind of had to look at like anime, how to do cartoons now, and just try to like rotoscope and just try to bring all this together and make my own thing with it, find my own ways of like taking care of certain problems when it comes to doing the animation. And that's kind of what got me to where I am and everything. Pretty much Disney sparked it. Family supported it, and I gave myself goals to like have my own studio eventually and stuff. But the studio is like, it shows that it can it's like a broad spectrum of audiences. Like, yes, we can do stuff for young kids, and yes, we can do stuff for adults. It's basically we won't put ourselves in a box and everything, because it's like Disney Pixar, they have like all the talent, all the money, all that stuff, but they're family oriented in a way. Like they're in that box. They can never really truly step out unless the creators themselves do something off do something on their own, and then probably not even affiliated with the company anymore. So what I would like to do and everything, pretty much what my goals are is basically when I start my studio is just to have that pretty much environment. We will be doing it all. So that's pretty much what it is with me.
Steve.
Yeah, like everybody else, I started as an early age. But one of the big influences for me was my brother would come back with these action movies. He would come back with kung fu movies like Kid with the Golden Arms or like the Five Deadly Venoms, and he'd also bring back anime movies like Akira, Ghost in the Shell. Oh, what else was it? So many good Giant Robo, like these old school animes, right? So I just fell in love with like creating these characters, and my first love was really game design because I saw this show called Carissa Explains It All, and that showed me that people actually make video games. And she would make little games about things that are happening in her life and how it affected her, and she would put her brother in the game, and I was like, okay, that's something that I could do. And now I've been watching these anime movies and these kung fu movies, and I'm really into action. So I wanted to like develop these characters, and I was constantly looking for how can I get these characters into a world and show people what's in my mind and show people these scenarios. So I ended up going to RIT after a long journey into figuring out how am I going to do game design, how am I going to do programming. And there they had a program that allowed us to work on game design, but also do 3D modeling, 3D animation. And even in some of those classes, like I had Deborah help me out with one animation class, we learned about different things about rotoscoping and whatnot. And it just showed me that I can combine my love of action, fighting, and all these things, and working with different animators and making animations myself into the game. So my specialty at work is that I'm somebody who can act out these animations because I did martial arts, because I love the action movies. I can now talk to animators because I know what they're thinking and how they work, because I've done some of it myself. And then I also can take those animations and put it into the game. So it made me really valuable for a studio like Sony Santa Monica.
And for me, you know, drawing all my life, like Marquise, I was drawing from the VHS tapes. I had my little Disney books. People would think I traced and all that stuff. And I watched all these movies, never thought about doing it as a profession because I don't know. But then my dad got us into, I have a twin brother, so he got us into taking some dual enrollment classes at a community college in Livonia, Michigan, Schoolcraft Community College. And so I took 7 classes, and the 7th class was 3D animation. And so my senior year of high school, I was like, oh, okay, I can go into this as a career. And then I applied. When I went to college, I didn't have that many universities to choose from because I wanted to do animation and basketball. And, you know, art schools don't be having sports. So it was SAD, RIT, or St. Clair College in Canada. And so I applied to RIT. I didn't apply to SCAD because they required a portfolio, and I got lazy. Like I took 7 community college courses, but then I was like, applying to college, RIT doesn't require a portfolio. I'll apply to RIT, and then I got in. And so, and then I ended up not playing basketball. So, but I love my experience at RIT. I majored in the BFA, but then I got behind on my first quarter film, so I changed my major to make your own major, multidisciplinary studies. And because I knew it didn't matter your major when you got into animation, so I was like, let me just graduate on time because I'm paying $32,000 a year. So, and then that's kind of what sparked my interest, just and being a 3D modeler, because I always wanted to be like an architect, industrial engineer. Even before I found animation, I was going to become an electrical engineer. So that like just making stuff is cool for me. And I used to make I used to take the cardboard from the pantyhose that my mom had and like cut it up and make like drawers with tape. Like I would make furniture and different stuff. So I just like building stuff with my hands. And so modeling is a good specialty for that. So the next question, our industry is full of people who are not the type to join a fraternity or sorority. What drew you to your organization? So we'll start with Quad.
Which one?
The non-fraudulent quap.
Non-fraudulent.
So my story, as far as what drew me to Alpha, when I was in high school, the local alumni chapter, Kappa Delta Lambda, had a junior Alpha program called the Alpha Esquires. And to be completely frank with you, I joined because I was like, I just wanted to be popular and like the most popular kids in the whole city. And they could step, they could throw parties, and they were just doing like, they just seemed like the coolest crew to run with. And this was like in the this was like back in '92. And it just turned out to be a really powerful experience for me. The advisor, the gentleman named R.L. Hester, who, I grew up without a father. So he was like really stepped in and did exactly the thing we imagine like older Black men as mentors doing. Like he was that thing. Like he was like a movie character. Like he was like that level of powerful in my life, So by the time I went to Howard, I was dead set on being an Alpha already because the example he set in mentoring so many young men, not even just me, but so many young men. But I want to just say something about this idea that, our organizations are filled with people who aren't like us, right? And I'm lucky to have pledged at Howard, and one of my prophytes is a guy named Kevin Grievous. He's way before me. Kevin's from the mid 80s. But Kevin's the guy who wrote Underworld. He's a big Black werewolf in that movie. He created that, right? And I had a conversation with him years ago. And one thing he said to me was like, a lot of like the Blaxploitation stuff, like he's like, grew up in the 60s and 70s. Like, back then, white people were making movies like Lost in Space and, Star Trek and Star Wars. And Black people were making Blaxploitation movies like, the Mac and, Shaft and all this kind of stuff. He's like, because white people weren't oppressed. They could fantasize about the infinite. They could fantasize about, conquering the universe. Black people, our fantasy, like all those Blaxploitation movies, they're just Black male power fantasies. They're just, hey, look, I don't have to take disrespect from a cop. Every woman in the city wants to sleep with me, all this kind of stuff. So I don't think that our fraternities are full of people who aren't like us. I think we have so many people in our culture who don't have the space to imagine the infinite. We have so many people in our communities who are just, they're attracted to things that are just very right there in front of them. Like they just want a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I think we definitely need more Black nerdism. This is definitely why we need more Black escapism, right? Because I think what you'll find is, after we grow up, after we're more secure in our careers and all that, I have conversations about comics, cartoons, all that kind of stuff with all my grown-up friends now. They weren't into this stuff when we were young, but now that we're grown up, more secure, more like, like they're all like, yeah, I'm into X-Men. I'm like, oh my God, I've been talking to you about X-Men since we met in '91. But so I don't think that this is a thing where there aren't Black Greeks who want to be animators. There aren't Black Greeks who are artistically inclined. It's a thing where our communities are in such a space that we don't have the space to develop our creative skills. So many of us, our parents are like, dude, that's not a real job. Drawing is not a real job. You need a real job. And we don't have, a lot of us don't come from families with money where you can just, oh, I want to go to art school. Like, nah, you better go to engineering school. You better go to business school. You better, get a degree that's gonna pay. But that's my story. I'm sorry for rambling on there.
I didn't say the people in our organizations. I said in the animation industry, people don't typically join organizations. That's what I said.
Right. Yeah. But yeah. I think that's the thing where, like, if we were more black people who felt encouraged to pursue the arts, and there were more programs that dealt, you would find that there would be Black people of all stripes who want to join fraternities and all that kind of stuff, because there'd be a larger set of them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is the encouragement for that, because the commentary is that we join just to have friends. The commentary is that we join to be popular. The commentary is that we join, like, it's no point. And so that's why we're talking. That's why I'm asking the question, so y'all could prove that wrong. So, next.
Well, I do know when you go to an art school, though, there's usually not Greek life. Like, at least at SCAD, there wasn't. Like, they tried to bring a they tried to bring Greek life, and the school like shut it down. They were like, no,
Yeah.
that's not the culture of SCAD. We don't do that. And then they had like I think they had a music fraternity for like a hot semester, and then people just got bored and were like, okay, we're gonna go back to drawing now. So I mean, I don't think that it's the culture of art schools. Like it's just not a thing. Like um, fraternities and sororities seem very much like state schools type of thing. Like it's more of like where your population is bigger. Because going from ASU to SCAD, I felt isolated, alone. There was just I went from my graduating class being 10,000 students to not even being 10,000 students in my program. Like so I think that also plays into effect with it, where you have these
Yeah.
schools where they're heavily art focused and they're just like, nah, that's like not what we do. That's not what we are about. Like, there's no sports really at SCAD. I mean, there's like soccer and swimming and stuff like that, but like, you're not going to go to a football game on the weekend and like hang out with your friends. It's just like people work all the time, and SCAD's in the middle of nowhere. Like you can ask Marquise, it's just like sitting in the middle of nowhere, especially Monty. Monty's just like an island. You're separated from everybody else that goes to that school. You only see animators and modelers and like people that do what you do, and all you do is talk about what you do, and that's like honestly, you make friends because you're all struggling. Like I only met Marquise because I had pulled like 2 all-nighters in the grad lab, and he was just like, you've been here a while, do you want to go to Fancy Parker's? So
Actually,
that's why this panel is important, because a lot of times on TV people only get a perspective of fraternities and sororities from the white perspective. We know that D9 Greeks are totally different than white Greeks. And I even going to college, we had a panel of our differences and similarities, and I didn't even realize how different they were. So So what were you going to say, Marquise?
to be a little bit more specific on how I met Ashley at SCAD, she had I saw her keychain.
Is that really?
She was in the cab. She was in the cab by herself, and she and I saw her keychain, and I just walked up on her, and I was like, what's good with the Reds and stuff. So she already knew. So I told her and everything, and that's literally how I met her. And I was like, you're not alone. And then pretty much I found that she was an animator. Boom. It was like that. I was like, I got you. I've been here a little bit longer. I got you. And that's pretty much.
And additionally, because people get their reference from white Greek life, they don't realize that you can join after you graduate, as long as you have a degree. So that's kind of why we educate people. So, Steve, what drew you to your organization?
Well, first part, I want to follow up on what other people were saying too. Like in high school, when I was younger, it wasn't cool to watch anime or anything. So I've been like an outsider forever until I got to RIT, where I started to see more people like nerdy things and be into the things that I was into. Like I got ostracized for being on the bus for in high school, getting ready for a basketball game, listening to like some anime theme song to like hype me up or whatever. I'm like, what are you listening to, bro? Like you're supposed to be listening to these other things that fit you into this box, and I never fit into those boxes, right? So RIT allowed me to feel like more comfortable with other people, and what drew me to the organization was the people that I was around. So when I started to see Sigmas, I had no idea what Greek life was, but these people would like bring me in and treat me like a brother before I was even a part of the organization. And then I soon realized that their principles like fit into what my life was about as well. Was just like I wanted to bring joy to other people. I wanted to make people happy. I wanted to serve. I wanted to create programs and whatnot. So I saw that opportunity to join an organization that could help me and me help them. So it was just really like how they were never elevated above us. They were always like amongst, like they would come to the same functions. The RA was a Sigma. He would chill with us, and we could, we would do things that I think would get people who are not Greek in trouble. So I was just like, that's cool that he's a Greek, but I feel like he can still be my friend and not ostracize me for things that I'm into or not being a part of his organization. So that's what drew me. Just the personability, like being able to connect with them as people amongst the community.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Ashley next, but going to RIT kind of, so it's like a nerdy school, but also being all around the Black people, it was like, okay, everybody got a level of nerd in them. It's just like some people are able to hide it better. Because there was like the cool people who are the cool people at their high school who are still cool in college, but they're still nerdy. Like we had these nerdy jokes where it's like once we leave here, we'll never be able to tell these jokes ever again. But yeah, so there's levels. So Ashley, what do you do? What do you use your organization?
I think so. To preface, my mom's an AKA, and so all my life, all the pictures of me, it's just future AKA, you know, all on my chest and everything, you know, in my baby outfits, all the way up until like literally high school, still wearing future AKA stuff in like baby Nelia, and but I don't know. I like my mom's. So my aunt Shan is my mom's five, and I'm really close to her, and I love that their bond and their relationship. But my mom's not as close with all the rest of her line sisters as she is with my aunt Shan. Like a couple of them, yeah, but like I don't call them like aunt. So they're not like on that level. And so I kind of wanted that bond that they had because they've been friends for like 30 years. That's what I wanted. I wanted like that kind of level of like friendship and commitment. And they argue all the time. So they fight. So it's all been like like bumpy. And so that kind of drew me to Greek life in general. And then when I got to ASU, I was still thinking like, I'm going to be an AKA. That's what it's going to be. And then I got there and I started meeting the different people and actually, because, you know, when your parents in Greek, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I didn't really do that much research on it. I was like, oh, my mom is it. So I'll just legacy my way into that organization and not really think about it. That obviously didn't happen. But when I got to ASU, I started like so randomly I just met Deltas. I didn't know they were Deltas at the time when I met them. I just met them and I thought they were cool people. They were into what I was into because I never really got like made fun of for like my interest, even though they were different. Like, you know, when you're that one little black kid and you like rock music and music from like the 70s, people are like, but that never really like happened to me, thankfully. I don't know. I always kind of found like my niche with people. I was fairly popular, I guess, in school. But I started meeting these people and I started talking to them and just getting to know them. And I guess they were subtly influencing me, I guess, to be like, I'm a Delta, you should be a Delta. But yeah, and so just I liked the stuff that Delta was about. I liked how they were because Delta's a business at the end of the day. I really liked they were about their business. I liked how they ran themselves. I liked the type of women that they brought in. I liked the reputation of the Iota Kappa chapter as well.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
And then one of my profiles was working at Paramount for a while, and she was telling me all about like what it was like and the culture and all that kind of stuff. And so I really liked that there were other people that were sort of interested. I mean, she's more graphic design, but that were still interested in things that I was interested in. So it made the transition over a lot easier. Breaking it to my mom was hard. That was the hard part. But my dad was happy because he's a Kappa, so he was just like crimson and cream.
Wait. Matt, are you able to talk right now?
I am on the struggle bus right now, y'all. I'm sure you can tell. So to let you know, the reason why I'm in the car, my mother turned 70 this week, and I'm just going down to surprise her for her birthday.
Oh, nice. You're a good son.
On the turnpike right now. Yeah, we got a surprise set for later this afternoon, so I couldn't avoid not being on the road during this call. So I'm gonna try to talk. I got my camera hidden because I think that might help with the network stuff.
Yeah.
But I will answer the question. So the question is, what got me into led me to pledging Alpha, right?
Yeah.
Correct? Is that
yeah,
question?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because I've been dropping out. Basically, my story isn't that awesome in storybook. It's really kind of stupid. Like I basically went to school not knowing what fraternities and sororities were really. I kind of I knew that there was a thing called Q Dogs, and that was it. I had seen School Days once, and like basically what ended up happening was I got to school, and my closest friend, brother named Ron, was like, "You trying to pledge?" And I was like, "What you talking about?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm planning on pledging Alpha, you know, as soon as I get an opportunity." and he, you know, his older brother was an alpha and everything, and he was
damn.
Oh, man.
Lost
Yeah,
him.
it was getting juicy too. I was like, wait,
I know. I was like interested. I was like, dang, okay. Right in the middle of the sentence.
right. Oh, another fun quick story for me was I was actually in Mr. Pink Panther, and that was like a big spark for me, like seeing how the AKAs and their bond and their fellowship kind of showed me like, oh, this is something I would want to be a part of too. Just camaraderie and see them get something done. And again, just me being weird and being a part of it. Like, why am I in this male beauty pageant?
Because you're a model. Duh. But anyway, Matt, you were saying about your friend.
Yeah, so I pulled over. I'm outside. I'm at a rest stop. So I'm thinking maybe if I stop moving, it'll be all right. But yeah, so dang, is it too windy? Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry, I'm messing up the whole thing. Okay, all right. Yeah, so my boy Ron was like, you know, I'm gonna pledge alpha and this and that, and I was like, all right, you know, it sounds good. He was telling me all about everything from, you know, the work in the community, but also just how alphas are just doper than everybody else. You know, he was hyping it up. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else on that corny stuff. Alphas, that's the real ish. He cursed a lot. I don't know if this is a children's program. I don't want to use profanity, but anyway, so my freshman year, I remember the turning point for me was like I went to a block party, and it just so happened to be, it was like an orientation, welcome to college type of, here's like all the stuff we got going on with the, you know, within the Black community here, and they had the fraternity and sororities do like little block party step shows, which is like a mini step show. And I just remember Ron was standing next to me. He was like, wait till you see them alphas. You're going to find out. You're going to know. And I remember being like, all right. And it just so happened that particular day, I think the Qs went up first. They did their thing. The alphas, the Kappas did their thing. And they were really kind of like it was a lot of fun. You know, the Qs were doing the classic, just fun, nasty dog type stuff. The Kappas was on that, you know, making a lady scream, throwing roses out and stuff. And then the alphas came up. And again, for people that don't know, you know, there is a wide range of different types of brothers and sisters in all these organizations. And any given, you know, event that you go to, you might get a different flavor of that. So you've got the business side, you got the playful, fun, you got the rugged, tough side of all this stuff. So it just so happened that day, the alphas that came up, it was only 3 of them. And they were on that very disciplined, like they did some poetry and then did the hardest step I ever saw in my life. And it said something about Black history and then left. And I had a tear in my eye. and then I looked over and Ron was like, you see that? Yeah, I told you that's the real shit. 6 months later, I was in somebody's basement like, how did I get here? What is life? What is this? and that was it. And you know, that's how I ended up. I kind of, you know, it was like it was my path to end up there. I didn't know what I was getting into, but it was to this day one of the best decisions of my life. And I've made so many wonderful connections. I got so many friends, brothers, sisters through the connections, through fraternal connections that I can attribute to just having had that experience. And I've learned, you know, I don't know if this is more than what you asked me to
you need to get it in while you can.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, yeah, exactly, before I get dropped again. But like, I swear to goodness, there was a shift in just my perspective on like life as a result of me having had that experience. And like, it's been like, I'm the man I am today because of a lot of that. And it's so weird that it was something that it was almost like accidentally, just unexpectedly ended up, you know, getting down with. So yeah, that's my story.
All right. So for me, so my dad is a Q, but he kind of like went to Western Michigan and then kind of pledged and then kind of pieced out. And so by the time I left by the time I went to live with him, he wasn't really involved in being in an organization. So all I knew before I went to college was like his blind brother came over to visit him, and I didn't know what that was. He always had like all his degrees on the wall in his office, and he had like a certificate from Omega Psi Phi. So I was like, okay, he's a member of Omega Psi Phi. And then before I went to school, he told me a story about how he kidnapped his dean, and I didn't know what a dean was yet. And then when I found out what a dean was, I'm like, you kidnapped your dean? Like, what is this? Oh yeah, he was online for like a year because he was like they made his line brother do push-ups in the snow, and my dad was like, get up, like nah. So they was online for forever because he was like, nah, we're not doing this. So like my freshman year, I got there, and then it was all the organizations, and then like the summer after my freshman year, I'm like, yes, colors are just colors. Let me go back home. Nothing is pink and green. Nothing is red and white. Like, okay. But the thing that drew me to Zeta was that. So at RIT we have citywide chapters, and so we have RIT like for Highlander specifically. We have RIT in University of Rochester, and then in our charter was I think SUNY Geneseo, but they weren't active when we were there. But so there was one Zeta on U of R's campus and one Zeta on RIT's campus. Anka Monroe, I'm her remix. She's the original. She calls me remix, and so like she was holding it down by herself, like on campus, because like at RIT, something that's different about us. I guess being at a PWI, we just all are family and together, and so there was. I know before I joined, they had this event called Hail to the Queens because AKA Delta and Zeta have their anniversary in January, so they created a event, and it got bigger and bigger. People from Philly would come, people from downstate New York would come, and I remember these SGROs came up, and like the AKAs and Delta was being nice to them, and they like thought it was weird. They're like, "What is this? Like, why are y'all being nice?" And so I guess at other schools, I don't know, they don't be nice to each other. I don't know, so it was like weird for them. And so all the AKAs, the Deltas, we didn't have SGROs, but like they were cool. And so it was just a matter of just me picking which one I liked more. And so I saw Anka, she was holding it down by herself, running, doing programs and all that stuff. And that's what on RIT's campus, Zetas were known for their programming. We weren't like the party throwers. The Alphas was the party thrower. The Alphas threw the first party of the year every year. But yeah, the Zetas was known for their programming. And once spring 05 came through, they had more people and they were cool. So that's what drew me to Zeta, because I knew nothing about fraternities and sororities before going to, and even the people I went to high school with, because I was so quiet and to myself, people wouldn't even think I would join any type of organization. So that's what drew me. Marquise, did you go?
No.
Okay.
I'll try to keep this quick. Basically what drew me to Omega Psi Phi is basically I was a child, probably around the same time frame of me getting like that spark for animation, but it was a time where BET was just starting, not too long ago. So BET had this montage and everything going on in about 2 seconds of. It was 2 seconds of bros marching like behind the curtain on stage, but they didn't even have on any type of letters. They just had on a purple shirt. And my mom's was like, "Oh look, there go the cues." Like, and I was like, "What are the cues?" And she was like, "You'll probably get it or understand when you get older." And it just stayed in the back of my head apparently because I just literally just stayed. It just stayed there all the way until my cousin she crossed. She's a Delta, and and like when I realized she was in a sorority, and then she mentioned it, and I was like, oh wait, and it popped up in my head again. So I had a little bit of interest there. Mind you, I'm probably at this time frame, probably around 12 years old, and she gave me, she let me borrow the Divine Nine book and everything. And I started reading over the organizations, but mainly reading over Omega Psi Phi. And I was like, okay, it just seems like that's where I'm going. It seems like that's where I want to go, whatever. And it kind of just stayed with me. And then when I went to Winston-Salem State, they just got back on the yard in 09. I got there fall of 09. Yep, fall of 09. And pretty much I just knew I had to try to make myself visible. So the only way I could do that it was by my art. So I just started drawing stuff, and I kind of got them to look at me. And then I made sure my GPA was extremely high. I don't care what anybody said. They talk about something. Oh, it's art. It's easy. And I'm like, okay, you do it.
Right.
Okay, you do it. And everything. Don't get mad at me because I actually came here for academic purposes. Everything. So that pretty much, and it's like I kept my eye on them as far as like watching them on campus to see, what they was doing. And they was out and about in the community doing, obviously what people don't think we do. And the camaraderie was there, everything was there, and pretty much I applied. I think I went for the 20. I think I went for 2011. Went for spring 11, but didn't get much back, or maybe I missed certain or whatever the case may be, and then came back around when it was time for spring 12, and I got that call and everything. So, and pretty much the rest is history as far as like what I've done and everything. As far as being an organization, they as far as being part of my chapter, they didn't. I wouldn't say they didn't like ostracize me because we all have different different parts or different uses or whatever for our members, and I had a few profites who are in the creative field. They do pretty much designs or some type of like shirts and such. So they was used to it, except in my case, I was a lot further along. Like I was doing animation. I was trying to do all the other crazy stuff, but they didn't like, keep, push me away from my interest as far as being interested in anime and all that other stuff like that and everything. I just found my little group within it. Just like y'all are creators, I'm creatives. Y'all get me. It is what it is. So even to the point where, like, when it comes to making stuff like this is my battle, but it's like the language of Jack and Daxter and whatnot and everything. So it's like that's how much of a nerd I am. I was like,
That's
I want
amazing.
my own
That's
personal.
so cool.
No one's gonna read this but me.
I love that. I love that.
So it's like, so basically, like, man, my profile made it for me. So it's like I said, they accepted me. They may not know what I know and everything, but they accepted me for who I was. And every 5 years, I would do a design. Like I even created the logo design for my chapter as far as like what we use for our letterheads and stuff. I did that while I was in school. Like we didn't have an official one, so it's like whatever, and I did it. And it's being used to this day and everything. I put on chapter shirts and stuff like that. That was my contribution that I felt the most honored about and everything. And then got to the point to even recently that headquarters hit me up for Founders Day, this past Founders Day, and I did a 10-second animation for promo purposes. They wanted to do a full-on animation for our founding, like what happened during our founders. And they didn't want to, but they decided to go a different direction. But they used my animation of one of the founders, and it's like I was honored that they put that up. I was like, I got to the point where my organization, like nationally, is looking at me. I'm like, I got it. I got to keep going.
I remember resharing that.
You saw it?
Yeah, I remember resharing that. I was like, oh, this is hot.
I was so hyped because I was like, it can really only go up from here because it's like the bros on the Instagram page, they loved it, and I was like, it can only go up from here because it's like that's you want to see it, and I have the capabilities of doing it, so I'm just gonna keep pushing and everything, keep the eyes on me.
I kind of thought of a new question, considering, all the stereotypes on TV and even with people going to school with us. I have this theory, like, people say that we're all about the parties, but that's all that people went to. We was struggling getting people to come to our more like our other events, like come talk about AIDS or come talk about health. Like nobody was showing up. Like, so can you tell either something dynamic your chapter did or your organization as a whole has done to kind of reframe people's thought of our organization? Anybody want to jump in?
First. Our chapter had like a yearly thing, like a panel thing we try to do. It was I can't think of the name of it, but it was like a panel of like basically like listening to women and such. And that was like our most popular program. And it's like parts of me almost felt like because we're the brothers and it got women in it that everybody shows up. because anything else that we tried to do, it was more so we had people to come, but it was more so people coming in the aspects of like people who are like prospects or whatever who are looking to try to join, and maybe a couple of women who are like who knew us or are affiliated with us in some way. But it wasn't like as massive as certain programs, and it's like it's so weird. It's so weird. But that was one. But it was like that was still one of the things that I felt we had the most impact on. We also had this, a tie program where we teach young men on campus how to tie a tie and stuff. So we always did it in the males dorm room. That way they had no choice to come to actually see it and stuff. So it's like those are like our two main programs I felt we had the most impact and the most change. But it was almost like we have so much more that we've done. We have so much more done. We do so many blood drives. We do all this other things. And it's like we can barely get people to come, but then they talk, like you said, they talk about parties and stuff. And I'm like, well, apparently that's all y'all care about.
But
Matt,
we do that too.
Before you jump out.
Yeah, right. I'm like, let me get in real quick. No, I'll just mention one thing that I thought was really cool. I mentioned that I went to University of Delaware. And I also mentioned that I'm going to see my mother, who's 70, turned 70, in Delaware. I'm trying to orient my phone camera. So she's been a teacher. She was a teacher all my life and taught 7th grade, taught at the middle school that I went to. And one of the cool things we did as a chapter was I told my mom, hey, we're coming up and I want you to organize with the school a classroom full of like 30 or so of the most troubled kids, the kids that get in trouble the most, the bad boys, like the baddest boys you can fit into one classroom, all of them. We want that, and preferably the brothers, you know what I mean? Because little black boys, they need us the most, you know what I mean? And so sure enough, we showed up. I'll never forget this, man. We showed up and the kids, we got there first. And so we're in the classroom waiting, and these kids, they start coming in, and one after the other, they're like, wait a minute, what is this? Because they're like, they looking around, they're like, these are all, like, they know who they are. They're like, these are the ones that are getting them in the, called to detention the most and always getting in fights and stuff. And so it was a little bit of like, kind of raucous energy, like, oh, what are we doing here? Y'all trying to whatever. And then the way that we took that energy and brought it down and focused it and started talking about, focusing in school and the importance of higher education and how that's connected to opportunities that you can pursue for beyond school, for your career, how that relates to your money, how that relates to those cars that y'all all talking about you want to drive, and the houses you want, and the girls y'all trying to get, and all this stuff. And I remember how comparing the beginning of that session to the end, and how at the end they were all focused. We were writing numbers on the wall like, yo, y'all never probably broke down like what it's like to be an adult. But how much do you think rent costs? We wrote that on the board. How much do you think what kind of car you trying to drive? Naheem, he like, oh, I'm gonna have that 5 Series. I'm like, how much that cost? $65,000. We wrote it all down and then broke it down and talked about the types of sorry, this is a long-winded answer, but the types of jobs that you might be going for and what they pay, comparing the salaries of like, these types of jobs versus these. And then so they started to make the connection. So by the end, these kids that are labeled the bad boys, the bad kids, that they were like coming up to us like, yo, can I keep in touch with you? Because I think I want to go to college. I never really thought about that, but now I see that that's the way to get that 5 Series. You know what I mean? And so that meant a lot to me. And then we had such a good experience doing that. We took that and did that a few other times at different schools and like really connected with kids in a way that I don't think they had, been I guess like they hadn't been served in that way by brothers that they could relate to, that looked like them. You know what I'm saying? And we, at the time, I didn't have this beard, so I was I looked more like I was only a few years older than them at the time. It seemed like, I was, 19, 20. So you know, they were like, oh yeah, I can relate to this brother. You know what I'm saying? And so that was one of the cool things we did in the community, in my chapter. So thought I'd share that.
I got a quick 3 parts.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things, is not even our event. It was a joint event with the Qs. So we were really close with U of R and RIT, and the Qs at U of R needed to have more programs at RIT so they could get members at RIT. So one brother, Tony, Q, he created this program where people would move their seats to show their interest in the speakers. And the 2 speakers that he wanted to have happen was Mr. Change, because Obama was in office, and then a Black Panther Party. So me and him, he was Mr. Change, even though he had more radical ideas in his personal life. And I was a member of the Black Panther Party, and I would talk about the different viewpoints from that perspective. So we have these 2 joint topics, and we talk about it from the 2 different perspectives, like being more passive and having change happen slowly, and then being more radical about those ideas and having people move and interact and see, you know, which way they would actually go. And I just thought that was great because normally you'll see the rivalry or the competitiveness of our 2 organizations. But because RT had like so much love about, and soon as it was smaller, we all knew each other. It's like, well, let's come together and make something for the community that's gonna be fun and interactive. And then the other part was we created this event because we got in trouble during Black History Month, and we couldn't do any programming during that month. So the next month coming up is Women's History Month. So we were like, well, let's create something for women to show our appreciation, because RIT is a tech school. There's not a lot of women at the school, so it's probably tough to be a woman at RIT. It's tough to be Black at RIT. Definitely tough to be a Black woman at RIT, and we wanted to show appreciation in a different way. So we created this program called Honor Thy Woman, which would just show and help men not cater, but like just show our appreciation. So all the guys would cook for the women, and we'd have fun events such as like a purse bingo. We'd create have performers come up and do poetry, and we'd have a speaker come and talk about women's history that you wouldn't normally to see in school or in classes and whatnot. But the best part about this program is how we took feedback from the community to evolve it more. Like the first time it came on as like a lecture, like a woman would come up and we'd have the free food, and we had like little games where we had a poem that was cut up into pieces. And as a group, everybody had to like formulate the whole poem, and it was basically just showing how much we appreciate women at RT. And they were like, that's fun, but it felt like a lecture. So that's where we came to be more creative and be like, all right, well, let's bring purse bingo. Whatever, do you have a receipt in your purse? Do you have this and that? And like everybody, so then every time they would come with more bigger purses so they could try to win this stuff and have all this stuff. But it was just trying to show that like, hey, we understand that the struggle is hard for us as Black men in RIT. And we understand that we have no idea how hard it is to be a woman here, but we just said it would be a way worse experience if you were not here at the school. And then the last one was one of our biggest events, which is for the March of Dimes, 24 Hours to Give, where brothers would stand outside at the statue, the tiger statue, and just basically look for donations all day long. And we'd be out there, we'd sleep out there, put our sleeping bags out there, and we would just be accepting all donations all day long. Wow. But it wasn't just like pander. We wouldn't just be like trying to get money. We'd have like different events that would happen during this event. We'd barbecue. We'd have people come in the nighttime to dance. We just turn up a little bit where we had for $5 or $1, you could pie your favorite Sigma or your worst Sigma. I got pied by Inca Monroe and whatnot. So it was just like us being out there trying to collect money for a good cause and sacrifice ourselves and our time so that we can bring attention to what was happening with March of Dimes.
I still got pictures from Sleep Out for the Homeless. Who wants to go next?
I can go. So my chapter, we had a lot of events, and then we would do a Delta week, and every single week that happened, whether it was Alpha Week, Sigma Week, Kappa Week, whatever week it was, they're always big at ASU. Like that's when we get the most people because I don't know, I guess it's just like a week of activities, and it's usually like we can usually pick out who's an interest from them as well, but they would always be like packed. And so it was around the time when that TV show Girl Code and Guy Code was really popular. I don't know if you guys remember that, but yeah. And so we had like little boxes around campus, and we were like, just put in whatever you want, ask whatever you want, and leave it anonymous. And so we got like a lot of interesting questions. There were some questions about sexual health that the school wasn't really addressing. There were other questions about what's a healthy relationship, other questions about like boundary issues and like different things like that. And so we were answering them, and we had a panel of like girls on one side, guys on the other side. And at first we started out with like the lighter questions of like, how do you know if he likes me, and like, you know, like stupid stuff like that. And then we got into like the deeper questions of like, what are healthy boundaries in like a relationship. And so we kept that up because at the end people would come up to us and they'd be like, this is the funniest thing we've ever done, like we didn't know you guys had things like this, we just thought you guys, you know, clean up trash on the side of the highway, because that is one of the things that we would do, because we have a street named after us. And so we were like, want to keep it pretty and stuff like that. And we were like, no, we do actually like cool stuff like this. And so anytime we had that event, people would always come out. It got to the point where we kept having to move up to bigger rooms, and we had to cut off the amount of questions because people were asking so many questions. But that like made us feel really good as a chapter, because prior to that, our chapter was small. Like a lot of the people had graduated, and then they brought in us, and there were 7 of us. And so we were just like throwing anything at the wall that we thought would be interesting and that would stick. And some of it worked and some of it didn't. But what worked was like really nice. I do know that we also had, I just blanked on what it was. But yeah, I do know one of the funnest events I ever went to though, was actually a collaboration between the SG Rose and the Iotas, because the Iotas had just come back on campus. There was literally like just 2 of them, and they needed to partner with somebody. And so the SG Rose were like, we want to do an event surrounding around alcohol, because there had been a lot of like issues with over drinking happening that semester on campus. And so they would bring you in, and they would have all these like really cool cocktails, fake cocktails obviously, but really cool cocktails in all these different cups. And you would come through, and attached to your cup was like some kind of like written thingy, and it would direct you to like different options that could happen. Like your drink is roofied, now move here. And then you would pick up something else, and it'd be like a guy takes you into the back of the room and you're not conscious. And then you would kind of work your way through like these different situations. And it was really interesting. And then they had like a discussion about it afterwards, which was cool. We had a self-defense work thing, which was actually a lot more popular than I thought it would be, because we've had it before in the past and not very many people came. But around that time, because ASU is kind of an open campus, so anybody can literally just walk on it if they want to. Like we have 4 campuses, and so it's not exactly easy for security to patrol them at all times. And so there had been a lot of instances of girls getting taken advantage of, and you know, a bunch of shady stuff happening. And so people weren't really feeling super safe, and people were carrying pepper spray around more, and you know, things like that. But I mean, I guess that's kind of what could happen when you have 60,000 people on a campus at one time. And so we had a self-defense thing, and I was shocked by how big it was. We had to go down to the SRC and ask them to give us a bigger room, because all these women were like, I need to feel safe. Like one of my friends told me that this strange man was following her, and she had to basically run to the campus grocery store and yell for help. It was at like 2:00 in the morning, because our campus is 24 hours, and she was coming from like the library. And so she was really happy that we did something like that, because she said that she just felt like super unsafe. And so we continued that. I think they still do it, actually. I think they do it a little bit more than we did it. But it was just kind of one of those things that I was glad that we did. And we got like really good notes from the rest of the student body that they liked it. We actually had people who weren't even students who would come and be like, look, I'm ready to like hit people. I need to know how to protect myself. So that was kind of fun.
Quap.
So, you know, I was fortunate to go to school with a big chapter, like a big historic chapter. And I remember my freshman year, the Alphas were selling these raffle tickets, right? And I was like, well, you know, I knew I wanted to be one, so I was like, I better pony up the $5 to help grease the wheels here, right? But the raffle tickets were for a project where they were trying to go to South Africa as a group, and they're going to take students with them to do a cultural exchange and community service over there. And they called the project Step Africa. And I'm proud to say, even though I wasn't an alpha then, like my freshman year, I contributed to it. And it became an annual trip where they would take Howard students to South Africa they would pair with the Soweto Dance Theater to do they would exchange stepping with a tradition they have in South Africa called gumboots dancing, which looks a lot like stepping. And the guy who did it, his name is C. Brian Williams. He just kept growing this project, and now Step Africa is this really dynamic international nonprofit that does arts and cultural exchange all over the world. They take the art of stepping, and they have people from every fraternity, every sorority in there. They take the art of stepping, do presentations in Europe, it's Africa, Asia, everywhere around the world. And I'm also proud to say that gentleman now, I think he's now been he's been selected to head the mayor of DC's Council on Arts and Culture, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, Beta chapter as an undergrad chapter, we do all the things that most undergrad chapters do if they have the resources. You do you bring young men to campus, you do community service of all kinds. But when I think of something cool that we did that just really steps out, we created an international arts and culture exchange nonprofit that is thriving to this day, even through COVID. And if you guys ever get a chance to see a Step Africa performance, you should go, because they really take stepping to a art form. They really make it like fine art in a way that that I think the art form truly deserves.
Yeah, for my local Zeta chapter, at the beginning of the year, we would do a series of events where kind of helping college students get acclimated, and we would have a professor and maybe a upperclassman, maybe a graduate student be on a panel, and then freshmen come and ask any questions that they want. But also, I was one of the few times I've been active as an adult was when I was living in Korea, because I had the money to pay my dues. So
Korea.
yeah. So it's funny because we all be like, yeah, we're an international organization, but we don't even be knowing what that means. So I realized, okay, when I went to South Korea, all of these are military chapters. I guess we probably think, oh, some Koreans is in the, nah, it's military chapters. So it's still Black people. I mean, there's some English teachers might be thrown in there and stuff like that, but it's the concept of fraternities and sororities are not known outside of America, really. So the chapter over there, they would have different military bases, and so there will be events for expecting or new moms, and they would get donations from all the military people. It would be strollers, cribs, diapers, all this stuff, and just to see the room where all these people donated so much stuff, and there would be maybe 20 to 30 expecting their new moms, and they got to go home with stuff that because you typically get maybe diapers, formula, wipes, and stuff like that, but they would be going home with big stuff. They would be raffling off the bigger stuff, and so for some of the people who might, their husband might be working a lot or something on the base, they were just really appreciative of that event, of getting a start. They didn't have to buy diapers for maybe 7 months or something like that. So I think all of our organizations are doing some really cool things. I'm going to ask maybe a question more or two more. So how has, let's see, what impact do you want to make on the animation industry in your own way? Or what impact are you making on the animation industry in your own way? Anybody can jump in.
I'll jump in real quick while I can. I love that question, because for this part of my career, like I said, I've been working as an animator for over 15 years, and I have just recently started to realize that I need to take it to another level and really impact the industry in a greater way. And like I said earlier, that the way that I see myself having the most impact is by starting to bring some of my story ideas to the table, in hopes that maybe one of these future feature films is one that is reflective of like some of our stories, or like has a little more of you know, I want to say my voice, but our voice in it, you know, culturally. And I've got some ideas that I think, you know, might have a shot. And so I'm looking for something like a bigger way to add my creativity, to add some paint where it ain't, as Bilal would say. You know what I mean? And so I'm really excited about the potential of, for instance, creating a story where we can give our young sisters a little black princess that doesn't turn into an animal, for instance. You know what I mean? To dress up as when they are, doing Halloween or whatever. Like, I go home and I've got tons of little girls in my family. I mean, it's a tribe of little girls between 12 years old and just born, and they're running around with like blonde wigs on because they want to be Elsa, you know, and that's all good. But I'm like, I hate the fact that, you know, in their minds, when you say princess, they don't see themselves. You know what I mean? For instance, and I feel like that's on us now to fix that. Like I said, I've been doing this for way too long, and for a long period of time, I've always had this mindset of like, oh yeah, somebody should do that. But I'm just animating. You know, I'm helping people get their ideas, you know, going and execute it. But I just recently just had that kind of wake up, you know, or that a come to Jesus moment or something where I'm like, wait a minute, that's my job. This is our time. This is my time to step in and do that thing that fill that void. You know, I know there's a lot of people, you know, also, you know, striving to do so, but I need to get in the trenches and try to make these things happen as well. So anyway, point is, I feel like at this stage in my career I'm going for those the big ambitious moves now. You know, I'm trying to be in those rooms pitching to Netflix and wherever else, you know. So I think yeah, for me personally, that's where I am, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, really quickly, another big impact that Matt made. If you want to watch his interview on my channel, he helped create the line dance from the Ice Age movie, and so he tells that full story on his interview. And also, well, I'll wait till he come back to say the other thing because it's actually for him. But anybody else want to say how are you making an impact on the animation industry in your own way?
Well, oh, sorry. Do you want to go? Well, I mean, I agree with what Matt's saying. Like, me and my friend were talking about it. It seems like every other race, when movies are made about them, there's a lot of history that goes into it, a lot of research, a lot of understanding and being respectful of the culture and everything like that. But it seems like whenever we're depicted on screen, we're turned into something, whether it's an animal or like with Disney's Soul, we're a little wispy character for like 3/4 of the movie. I mean, I do like what Disney did, and they made the characters actually look like Black characters and not like whitewash them and then just put like black tone on top of them, because I've seen that happen as well. But I mean, I would like to basically make like, because the thing is, I like Princess and the Frog, but I feel like it didn't have the research that like Moana had. Like, they looked at all of the text, they got indigenous people to play the roles. Like, the person who plays Moana wasn't even well known. She was just some girl that they found who could sing, and they made her into a star, basically. And I feel like they put all that information and all that work into it, but then like when you have something like Princess and the Frog, which has such a rich history in voodoo, they didn't even like do a good job of like explaining how voodoo works, what it is. It's not just like dark magic, it's a religion. And I feel like that if they can put that much energy and effort into other films about Polynesians, and like even Coco had really like a deep history and knowledge inside of it, and like the history of Day of the Dead and all that kind of stuff. And so I would like to do that same thing where I can actually create a story that has that same level of history and that same level of research, and just like respect and reverence for the people that it's being depicted on. I mean, I feel like we're getting there, but I mean, like if they can do it with other races, why can't they do it with us at the same time? And so, yeah, just like piggyback off of that.
Church.
And really quickly, Matt, before you had dropped off, I wanted to mention that my video, okay, today is Saturday. So my video for next week is with Sydney Clifton, and she talks about pitching and stuff like that. So you should definitely watch that video with her.
Oh, I'm there.
I'll send it to you. All right, who else want to go next?
I can go. So in the short term, I also, in addition to my corporate work, I serve as an adjunct professor of animation at Morgan State's screenwriting and animation program. So as far as making impact, I think what I can do right now is kind of help educate like young filmmakers as to, what animation is, how it can be incorporated into your workflow, and just kind of expand their skill set and their horizons. But long term, like everybody else here, like I said, I had the opportunity to start my career in Los Angeles, and I met some really, really great guys that I'm still friends with to this day. And hopefully we can find a way to, to collaborate again, to pitch some more. I worked on a really cool project, which unfortunately has yet to see the light of day, called Blockheads. But
You work on Blockheads?
I did.
Bruh, I've been so pissed about that not going nowhere. I was like, yo, what happened?
There's so many stories about that, but it's still alive. It's still alive, and hopefully it will see the light of day in the near future. But hopefully those guys that I've worked with in the past and our extended team will be able to get together and do the things I think we all want to do, which is bring more flavor to the industry and bring more stories that can inspire a wider group of people, a wider group of children for the next generation.
Yeah, I think the SWAN program was one of the first programs I heard about at a HBCU, having an animation program. And I was like, should I like adopt an HBCU and donate to their animation program? Because I have a weird relationship with my university of who they chose as a commencement speaker. So I was like, I ain't donating to y'all, because like the year before they had Bill Clinton, and then the year after they had like the black lady who was the CEO of Xerox, and then our year they had some dude that was retiring. I was like, what is this? Okay, y'all not getting no money. But anyway, so does anybody else want to go next? What impact are you making on the animation industry?
I'll go real quick. The impact that I've had so far, even though it's like I feel like I'm just getting my feet wet just a little bit, is honestly just the fact of where I'm at. It's like I'm at a local level. I'm at a low level in the aspects of how people get a hold of me and everything. Because it's like I feel like my impact is really in the aspects of like the people that are like, oh, I want to see my character move, blah blah blah, and everything. So they come to me and everything, because it's like it's like you can get a hold of me, and I have capabilities of making your character move or bringing your story to life without having to go through the industry standards of budget and everything. So it's like, it may not be like, this major high studio kind of thing, but your character is moving. You have made a step. Your character has come to life. And that's honestly where I feel like my impact has been at for like at least the last couple years. Because it's like, even though I want to do like everybody else, I got stories in my head. I got at least 2 stories that I know for a fact I'm like, we could use these stories. And I'm also working on a personal project with a group of other people. I don't know if y'all seen anything trending around, if y'all seen Pride Lands or if you seen Scar or Mufasa in like a suit or something that was trending last year. I was doing the animation. I'm doing the animation promos for it. And it's like, but that project, I look at that project in the aspects of it's just more so the hype that comes from it. Like everybody is like, they're very connected to nostalgia of these characters, and they just enjoy seeing these characters in something they relate to now. So it's just like, if I could just get that hype to an actual unique original story and everything, like using the hype for something that we know about to fund something that we could like build from the ground up, is that's where I'm in that type of limbo right now. It's like the limbo of like I want to be fully in the industry because I like to have consistency when it comes to a lot of things like stability, but also I enjoy the freelance way because like I am not connected to anybody, so therefore I can create whatever I want without having to worry about anybody stopping in some kind of way. So it's like I'm in that limbo right now, and it's so frustrating. But I feel like that's the impact I have.
My impact is like on a more low level. Like I will take every opportunity I can to go speak to children or young adults, just to show them my story and overcoming different struggles to get into the industry. And my goal there is not to just bring people into like, oh, you can be a game designer. It's like there's somebody who looks like you, who's doing things that aren't normally presented to you. Like, look, I followed my dream. I did it. I'm here. You, whatever you want to do, I don't know what it is. You can get there. Because back in, 2000s, or like nobody was thinking about making games, especially like making games with making money, like being Black and thinking that I can make it into this industry and make games and make enough money to support myself was like, that's crazy. You're Nigerian. You only can be a lawyer, a doctor, or engineer. That's all you get. But for me, I was supported by my mom to be able to do that. And I want to show other kids that they can do it as well. In the long term, I think just like everybody else is saying, I really want to tell these stories. So if I had my dream scenario at this point, I would create an all Black studio that makes video games, that tells Black stories and has Black characters created by Black people. And I think I'm committed to that, to making that happen very soon. So I think that's going to have a big impact. And this has been in my head. I've been working with some friends and talking about it even before movies like Black Panther that showed people like, hey, if you're creative and you are amongst this culture, you're amongst these things, you're going to bring a way better experience because you can tap into all these resources. Like people don't talk about too much the battlegrounds of all the different tribes and what they were wearing and how they represented different tribes in Africa and the impact of that like small detail. Like people just don't really understand how big that is to people like me and whatnot.
Ashley, did you already go or?
I mean, kind of. I said what I wanted to do. I didn't say what I did, but I mean, I'm like a little tadpole in this like ocean. So I mean, like I haven't really like made a splash, if you will. I'm just, I'm fighting against the current, especially with like, honestly, like especially with like COVID, like it really kind of messed up some of my plans, honestly. So there's that, and then that's like nothing new. Everybody's plans are probably getting jacked up because of this pandemic.
At least the animation industry has not floundered, and it has like gone kind of to another level in the pandemic. So that's good.
It's actually kind of frustrating, honestly, because it's like we were here before the pandemic. We was trying before the pandemic, and all of a sudden it just seemed like every studio just wanted to have some type of random diversity hire. We want to do some type of diversity program of like, we want to see your portfolio and stuff. And we're like, we sent that to you last year. We sent that to you a few months ago. We've been applying for God knows how long. Right. So it was almost frustrating. It was like, are you serious or are you virtue signaling? Like, what do you really want? Because if you really want this, we've been here, we've been ready, we doing our own thing now. We've been waiting so long. It's like, I mean, Steven he's in Santa Monica right now. Mm-hmm. That is the fact that he's in Santa Monica right now, I am amazed by that, because it's like I know how serious Santa Monica is. Mm-hmm. He is right there. If they ever did any type of like game that's dealing with the culture, he is right there. And the chances of them going to him, is at least respectfully going to him to like ask for his constellation, it's pretty low. They'll probably go anywhere else. And it's like you have somebody right in studio that can give you the keys to the kingdom just about. Right. And the chances of you asking them is so low and everything is just frustrating. That's another discussion.
I wish I could speak on that more, but yeah, you're putting down some things, can't confirm that.
So for me, you know, my platform, Black Woman Animator, is how I am currently making a splash in the animation industry. And just I have so many Google Docs on the Black animation ecosystem and how we gonna do stuff outside of the Hollywood. Like I just got so many ideas, and so I'll just like the future is bright, and the revolution will not be televised.
It's gonna be televised on streaming.
Right?
Yeah,
All the way
honestly.
to televised.
Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO
So
Max.
I feel like we're at a good time. So can we just end by saying any like advice you want to give to people who like someone asked how can people outside of the animation industry help support all these projects? So whether you're talking to people who want to support or people who want to get in the industry, who has advice?
You if it's not following the socials, you know, and engaging the socials, it is definitely if you want to support the artists, if they have some type of Patreon, some type of personal donation system going on, that is the real key. To my advice, that's my opinion. That is the real key, because it's like I've seen creators that got like thousands and thousands of patrons, and they're pretty much supported. It's like they don't have to worry about nothing as far as like supporting themselves. They can just focus on the craft and getting the product out there to the fans as quickly as possible. If you want to see all these personal stories that these creatives on this panel are trying to do or trying to bring up, it's the finances. That's where it's at, because it's like we all as creatives, it's like we would love to come together and like create things from scratch, but we also know that our time is valuable. Our labor is very valuable, and sometimes we can't just break away. It just takes forever to do. But if you want us to like crank something great out quickly, in quotations, or whatever, you got to have the backing. You got to have financial backing, the social gathering, the social engagement, sharing it, and subscribing, all that stuff. Like if you want to see more of this, you want to see more great things by Black creators or any creator of color, support them financially as much as you possibly can without hurting yourself.
That's so true, because when you leave school, you start realizing that it costs money to make a film, and like your dreams cost money, and you know there's no free ride. And like a lot of the projects that I saw from some of my friends at SCAD, they eventually finished them, but they were on Kickstarter, they were on GoFundMe, they were basically like begging for money. They're like, it is so cool, please help me, please, and like eventually they got made and stuff like that. But yeah, man, you know, this lifestyle ain't cheap.
Seriously.
It's like, because I'm a hybrid animator, I want to get back into 3D animation, even though Maya changes their interfaces every year to a whole different freaking thing. That it's like I haven't touched Maya since about maybe 2015 or 16. 16 was probably the last Maya I touched. I know if I go into Maya right now, it's a totally different world, and I'm gonna be stuck for at least a year. Just like what happened to the button? They changed the button.
Depends on how you use it, but like not really, because I was like, I still use 2018 because it's, you know, still on my computer, and you know I might as well use it when I got it. But my job gave me 2020, and like you know, it's not that different really, honestly. But I mean, I'm not modeling, so I mean, I know the modeling interface has changed, but like the animation interfaces, I mean, it's the same. You know, keyframes here, timeline here, graph editor there, make it move.
We need you to slide me.
Well,
give me a teacher or something.
Well, I'm a Cinema 4D guy on the 3D side, so I don't have to worry about all your little Maya troubles. But I'll say that, you know, for me, you know, when I started my career and I was out in LA, the thing that we always bumped heads about, you talking about what happened with Blockheads, those studios were like, there's no demand for this. Like, they're like, every time we pitched this, they were like, why would we do this? You know, why don't we do this live action instead of animated? Why don't we take the magic out of it and just make it just a regular rap story, right? So for me, you know, now that everything is streaming and there's so many metrics these people get back, if there's something out there that has diversity, watch it. You know, if nothing else, if you're on Netflix, Hulu, whatever, just click on it. Just click on it, let it play for like, you know, 5-10 minutes, even if you don't finish it. Because they get that data back, right? They're like, oh, stuff that has characters of color or writers of color or directors of color are getting clicks. that creates a demand. That creates a demand where these studios start seeing money to be had by supporting diverse projects. And I'll also say this, you know, you see everyone here has a dream of pushing out stories, but when you see those people out there who are further along than in the talking about their dream stage, the ones who've put together the Bibles, the scripts, who've done like really great character designs and are really out there promoting their project, amplify it. You know, like you said, if you see them on social media, share their posts, you know, tag your friends. Yeah, I'm not talking about just a cat with a lousy sketch, $1 and a dream, but I'm talking about the person like this dude is dope. You know, like there's guys I follow like Chase Connolly. You know, who like there's the fact that Chase
Yes,
is
sir.
not directing, you know, Pixar movies right now is a travesty. You know, or at least he's not the lead character
Right.
designer. It's a travesty. You know, every time he posts something, I'm liking it, I'm sharing it, blah blah blah, because that's how we get exposure for our talent, and that's how we build. Like, you know, I remember hearing stories like seasons of like Star Trek Enterprise got canceled, and the fan base raised like $1 million for another season to be made. I'm like, we can do that, you know. We can do that, you know, and we can make it not just a thing where people like are doing diversity to be socially conscious, but are doing diversity because it pays, you know, because it pays and it's dope, you know. So that's my approach to it, you know.
Black Panther should have been the big key for that one. I mean, $1 billion with a B. We've been starving for this, but it's like that was just the major studio that's done it and everything. But it's like so many stories, just so many that's like left on the room table, or didn't even make it to the pitch, didn't even make it past the pitch.
Yeah.
Plus, Netflix has like their little what do you call it? They have like a Black History section. I mean, I don't know. It seems March. Maybe that's gone now. But I don't really get a chance to watch a lot of TV. But maybe they still have it. But they had like Canvas that came out. But that really made me mad though that they dropped Canvas the way they did because they didn't do any promo for Canvas at all. They were just expecting people to just magically find Canvas. It's a really cute story. I like it a lot. It's Black people. It's a little Black girl and her grandfather, and they have like a bunch of other like stuff in their Black History series, and like, you know, I think they call it like Representation Matters. I think that's what they called it. And so if you want to see that stuff stay, you have to watch it. You have to like actively look for it. Also, you know, potentially you can bully big studios into like changing things, which we saw with Sonic. So like if you see something, yeah. So I was like, if you see something that you want still there, like if a studio cancels something that you're just like, oh, but that was so cool because it had Black people or it had Asian people or it had Hispanic or whatever it was who was there, it had diversity in general, and they cancel it and you really want it, you know, I mean, if you and enough people really start, I guess, hating on these studios, really bullying them and pressuring them, they might bring it back. Because I mean, they brought Sonic back and they changed it and everything and they made it different. And even with Rick and Morty, you know, they got McDonald's to bring out a sauce from like 1996 because a bunch of Rick and Morty, it wasn't even a bunch of them because that's like a super like semi-indie show, but enough people were like, no, you bring the sauce. And McDonald's was like, we hear you and we're bringing the sauce.
All right, anybody got any
Bring
more
the sauce.
advice? Because Ashley got to get to sleep. It's like 10:30 over there, so in the night. So anybody else got some
Oops.
last?
Yeah, that's the benefit of being international. You know, I live in I'm time zone playing. I live in multiple time zones, honestly. But you know, yeah, it's like 10:40 now.
Nice.
Matt, you got something?
Wow. Man, listen, I just want to just plus one to all that was said, especially the whole part about just sharing dope stuff that you're seeing through social media. And, you know, I have a gang of artists that I follow who are constantly posting amazing artwork. And, you know, just forwarding that stuff also exposes people who aren't looking for that. You know, we're all art nerds to different degrees, and so we're all into this stuff. But I might have a cousin that's like, damn, that is kind of dope, like these digital paintings that this guy's doing, I'll follow him too. And then start, you know, you're just exposing more people and, you know, out there to some of these artists who need that. Like how many really cool black create like artists do you follow who, when you see the amount of followers they have, it doesn't make sense compared to how dope their work is? I'm like, you only
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
1,800 followers? What?
Yeah.
That should be
Yeah.
18,000, if not a million. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so just continuing to push that is one thing. And then I guess the one thing I'll add that I don't know if it's been said, because I think, Deb, you were asking any advice for up and coming animators and creators as well. I'll just say, I feel like we're moving into an era or an age when it comes to animation specifically, where not the studios and the world is recognizing that it's stupid to limit, especially in this country, it's stupid to limit the types of stories that we tell to like the classic traditional Disney type stuff. And you're starting to see, I guess, through streaming as well, that people are more receptive to like new, fresh ideas that aren't all just the standard formulaic like princess stories that we're used to, or just like there's more of an opportunity now more than ever to tell your story. And so when you're coming up in this industry, learning storytelling and animation and all that stuff, I want to encourage people to not try to fit into a box, but to bring what you got to the industry. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the flavor. We need your flavor. We don't need you to try to be the next what's already there. You know what I mean? And so it's so crazy because as I'm talking, my phone just showed Joshua Leonard just sent you a friend request, and Joshua Leonard is a dope artist that you should all follow if you're not following him. That's crazy, just the timing. You know
about Josh.
You know what I'm talking about. He's a beast. So anyway,
it take him a while. It's taking him a while to get his stuff right too with Team Supreme.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm that's it.
Go ahead.
Steve, hold on. Let Steve go first.
Okay.
Just real quick, definitely support your favorite artists. Share their stuff. That's free. If you can buy their things, buy it. My advice for up and coming creators is to just try to create something, just try to make something, and then document that journey and share that with everybody. Because now, we didn't have phones when we were getting into our industry, but I would love to have had pictures of me starting out and get help from other people who see it, like, yo, that's dope, but tweak this, do that. You can really leverage the community to help build you up, just like Polycount and other sites just showing you. But overall, your portfolio will grow, and you'll just show that hey, I started here and I have all this body of work on my journey, being able to tell that story later on. I think that would be really powerful.
Yeah, even in my interview with Chase, he mentioned how he keeps his stuff up online just so he can look back and be like, "Oh, that sucks," but other people can see his journey.
Right.
All right, Marquise,
yeah, one quick thing and everything. It's also piggybacking. It's yes, create something, but when you create it, unless you're about trying to get the money and everything like that, then do what you need to do. But if you're something that's your baby and you want it to be, you got to stick to it, and you got to don't give up on it. You can't don't sell it short or whatever, because it's any of y'all know about Marcus the Visual, Tuskegee Airs and everything.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, for those don't know and everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so he's in the Atlanta area. So sometimes if I have the time, wherever he has these little events where he pops up and sells his stuff, I try to meet him every time and chop it up with him and talk about the industry and all that stuff. And one of the things he talked about is he pitched Tuskegee Airs quite a few times and everything, but they always try to switch things up and everything. Not 5 black kids. Let's do 3 black kids and 2 Asians or 2 white people or something like that. Right. He doesn't give in and everything. Now, how many of us get to the point of pitching and the studio's we'll do it, but change this? How many of us have that that constitution to say no and everything. And it's like that's honestly that's like one of the most biggest inspirations to me because I'm just like, man, I don't know, man. Them zeros is looking kind of
right,
nice and whatnot, everything. But the fact that he just he sticks to his guns is just is crazy to me. And I'm just like, yo, just if you're gonna create something and you're gonna stick with it, if you're gonna go down that route and everything, just know that when you get to the pitch, when you get to the big boys table, they're gonna throw all this at you and everything. And you gotta have that constitution about yourself. It's like if you're not trying to change it, they're gonna kick you out the door, and you have to build it up organically, or you're gonna be willing to change it. It's really up to you on that. So it's just, ooh man, woo. When he told me that, because I was thinking, I was like, hey, I was thinking about it. I was like, there's no way something this popular, like everybody was sharing it, buying the books and stuff like that. It's something we haven't seen. It's basically Gundam for Black people with the history on the side. And I'm just like, this is what we want. Why hasn't this? That's why. And I'm just like, it's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous.
All right. So my advice to people, whatever, if you're interested in animation industry, whatever you want to do, look for it in the hashtag on Instagram and look at other people doing it. Look what the standard is. Look for them on Behance and ArtStation and all the other websites out there. You don't have to guess at what the standard looks like. Find them on Instagram or on LinkedIn. See what their journey is, and if they fill out their LinkedIn, see what their journey is. Where did they start and all this stuff. So. You don't have to guess anymore. It's all out there. You just got to search for it. Stop asking questions and do the work and search for it. So lastly, everybody shout out their social media so people can follow you.
Steve, go first.
Well, I'm Black Woman Animator. Steve, go.
I'm Tribal Knight on Instagram, but you can find my work by playing Sony Santa Monica games like God of War.
Knight as in fighting too. Ashley.
So I don't actually post any of my work on my Instagram, but it's Ebony Peaches if you're interested. I have a website. It's ashwillanimate.com.
Matt.
Oh,
I lost Matt.
Click the wrong button. Marquise.
You can follow me on Instagram at Artistic Insanity. Just make sure that when you get to the insanity part, you use an E instead of a Y. And I also have a website. It's marquisestaton.com, marquisestation.com. That's where you can find pretty much all the professional reels, as if you will, of like the work that I've done. Instagram is more so just everything, projects, small stuff, all that stuff. That's what you can find.
Matt.
Okay. For real this time. All right. You can find me on Instagram Monday06. It's MUNNDAY06. Mun is my last name, so that explains that. And I don't have very much animation on there. It's mostly just personal silly stuff, but hit me in the DMs and we can talk art and animation and whatnot. So but that's where I am social media wise.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my professional work, which is all like mostly advertising and corporate stuff, is on Vimeo. Just vimeo.com/Kwabena, KOBINA. As far as my social media, you can find me at Facebook. I know I still use Facebook. I don't care what anybody says. You can find me my Facebook's name is Quab's Moving Castle, an homage to Howl's Moving Castle. So it's just KOBS Moving Castle. And on Instagram, you can find me at Purple Saber.
Nice. And I would like to thank everyone for coming. Thank you, my fellow Greeks, my fellow United Greeks. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And this, after YouTube is done processing it, you can rewatch this. Everybody throw up their sign. Do they call? Hurt my ears? Like.
Oh, I want to make a slight caveat. If you guys do go to my website, just know that I haven't updated it in a bit. So, be gentle. It's a work in progress. I have stuff. The pandemic life. I haven't updated anything.
Danny Girl 82 is still gonna be up there. So Don't worry.
All right, y'all.
All right,